Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be diving into, I guess, a pretty fundamental concept in ABA today, shaping.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that can really kind of, I don't know, open up a lot of possibilities for you when you're working with clients. And it's got some pretty surprising applications, I think, too.
It really is a cornerstone of ABA, and you're right, it goes way beyond what people might initially think of.
Okay, so to kind of set the scene, imagine, a little girl named Penny. She's 4.5 years old, and she has cerebral palsy.
Okay.
And Penny was having a tough time learning to walk independently. And this is where shaping comes in.
It's a perfect example. Yeah, you see, shaping is all about breaking down a big, complex skill, like walking into smaller steps that we call successive approximations.
Right.
And the magic happens when you reinforce each of those little steps to gradually guide her towards that goal of walking on her own.
So instead of expecting Penny to just get up and walk, you would start by reinforcing maybe something simpler, like shifting her weight, or maybe taking a tiny step while she's holding on to something for support.
Exactly. And as she gets the hang of that, you raise the bar a little bit. Maybe she takes 2 steps, then 3, and so on. It's like building a bridge one step at a time,
right,
until she reaches the other side.
I love that analogy. That's a really great way to put it. Now, our source material dives into 2 specific aspects of shaping.
Okay.
Topography and frequency, or rate.
Right.
Can you break those down for us?
Yeah. Think of it like sculpting with clay. The topography is like the form of the behavior, so how it looks.
Okay.
It's shaping the clay into a specific object, and the frequency or rate is how often that behavior happens.
Okay.
So it's deciding how many times you're going to mold the clay each day. Both of those can be shaped.
Okay, so with our clay analogy, if you're shaping a dog to sit there, the topography is making sure the dog's rear end actually touches the ground.
Right.
Not just kind of like a little crouch.
Yes.
And the frequency might be how many times they sit correctly within a minute.
Right on. And it's not just for physical skills like that either.
Okay.
Shaping can work with social skills too. One example from the source material talks about this grumpy fellow who just couldn't take a compliment.
Oh.
He'd deflect, get flustered, even respond negatively.
Sounds like someone I know.
So, how did they use shaping to help him? They started small. They reinforced him for just making eye contact when someone gave a compliment.
Okay.
Then for nodding, then for a simple thank you. Eventually, he learned to just accept compliments gracefully.
Wow.
It's a great example of how you can break down even complex social interactions into smaller, shapeable pieces.
Yeah, that is amazing. And that really highlights how applicable shaping is to so many different facets of human behavior.
Absolutely.
One thing I was reading about that I thought was so interesting was they actually taught a pigeon to turn in a circle.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic study.
Yeah.
They started by reinforcing any tiny head movement, and then they gradually shaped the pigeon to turn further and further until it was doing full circles.
Wow.
It really shows that power of breaking complex behaviors down into tiny, achievable steps.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing. What about something like, teaching language to a child with autism or a developmental delay that seems incredibly complex?
You're right, language is incredibly complex, but think about it. We don't start speaking in full sentences right out of the womb. We babble, we make sounds, and those get shaped over time into words and then sentences.
Yeah.
So with a child who's struggling, you might start by reinforcing a sound that's close to a word like ba for ball, and then gradually shape those vocalizations into clearer words.
So it's almost like you're kind of rewinding the process of language development and providing this extra support and reinforcement along the way.
Exactly. And that same logic applies to treating phobias through desensitization.
Yeah.
The source material had an interesting example about a client with a snake phobia, but there was a twist. The client was also afraid of the therapist.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So how do you even begin to address the snake phobia with that added layer of fear? Well, they had to be very deliberate. They first shaped the client's comfort level with the therapist just simply being in the same room. Then over time, they gradually brought the snake closer, always making sure that the client felt safe, and eventually the client could interact with the snake without fear. It shows how crucial it is to find that right starting point for shaping, and then taking those small, manageable steps.
It sounds like there's a real art to shaping, effectively finding that balance between pushing too far and not pushing enough.
Absolutely. And that's something we'll delve into more later. But first, let's explore how shaping is being used beyond just, individual therapy. There's some really fascinating applications in different fields.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about it.
Me too. It's fascinating how shaping can be applied in contexts you wouldn't expect. Like our source material mentions this study where they used shaping to improve productivity in a shoe manufacturing plant.
A shoe factory. Okay,
Oh,
I'm
really?
intrigued. How does shaping fit into that picture?
Well, the plant was having trouble meeting its production goals. So researchers worked with the managers, supervisors, and quality control folks and introduced a shaping program.
Okay.
They started by setting these small, achievable goals for improvement and then gradually increased those goals as performance increased.
So instead of just demanding this huge jump in productivity, they use shaping to kind of create this more realistic path towards improvement.
Exactly, and the results were pretty impressive. The plant saw a significant increase in the number of shoes they were producing each day.
Wow.
It highlights how shaping can work even in a real-world business setting,
Yeah,
to boost efficiency and achieve organizational goals.
Yeah, it really shows that shaping isn't just for therapists' offices. It's got these like broader applications that can make a real impact.
Absolutely, and that versatility extends to education as well. Our source material highlights how shaping is being incorporated into teaching it to improve student learning outcomes.
Okay, now this is something I'm always keen to hear more about. How is shaping being used to make education more effective?
Well, there are a few different ways shaping principles are being integrated into teaching methods. One example is programmed instruction, which we touched on earlier.
Right, breaking down the material into smaller steps and giving students feedback as they go. But wouldn't that be super difficult to manage in a large classroom setting?
That's a valid concern. It does require careful planning and organization on the part of the teacher, but the research suggests it can be worth the effort. There was one study that compared programmed instruction to traditional lectures in an introductory psychology course.
Oh, interesting.
And the students who learned through programmed instruction, they scored significantly higher on exams.
Wow.
And they were more satisfied with the course. It seems that breaking down learning into smaller chunks and giving frequent feedback can really improve how students learn.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially given what we know about shaping, small steps, clear goals, and reinforcement along the way. Are there other ways besides programmed instruction that shaping is being used in education?
Definitely, we're also seeing shaping's influence in the development of personalized systems of instruction, or PSI.
Personalized systems of instruction. I'm not familiar with that. What's involved?
PSI focuses on individualizing learning. So students work through the material at their own pace, mastering each concept before moving on. It's built on flexibility and personalized support.
So instead of everyone moving at the same speed, you're shaping each student's learning journey to their own needs and pace.
Precisely. And one key aspect of PSI is frequent assessments to make sure students are truly grasping the material. And these assessments are often short and focused, giving immediate feedback and allowing the learning plan to be adjusted if needed.
Interesting. Are there any specific examples of how PSI is being used in schools?
One example is a program called Head Sprout Early. Reading it combines engaging online lessons with personalized instruction to teach young children how to read, and the program has a strong basis in behavioral science, including those shaping principles we've been talking about.
It's like they've taken those core concepts of shaping and applied them specifically to early literacy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And are the results promising?
Our studies show that children using Head Sprout Early Reading make significant gains in their reading skills.
That's great. It's amazing to see how something like shaping can help kids learn such a fundamental skill.
It really highlights the power of behavioral science in action, making a real difference in people's lives. And speaking of real-world applications, our source material mentions another interesting area, computer-assisted instruction, or CAI.
Ah, yes, CAI. It seems to be gaining popularity. How is it using shaping to help students learn?
One of the key features of CAI is its ability to give students immediate feedback, and that feedback can be tailored to their specific responses. It's a great way to shape their understanding of a concept.
So if a student gets an answer wrong, the program can kind of guide them toward the right answer step by step.
Exactly. It's almost like having a personalized tutor always available, and since CAI programs can track student progress so well, they can adjust the difficulty level and the type of feedback they give.
That's pretty incredible. Are there any specific examples of CAI programs that are doing this effectively?
One example is the Competent Learner Model, or CLM. It's a cloud-based program that helps teachers implement personalized learning strategies in their classrooms.
What makes CLM unique? What sets it apart from other CAI programs?
Well, CLM puts a strong emphasis on fluency building, and in this context, fluency means being able to do a skill accurately and quickly without hesitation, and shaping is a key part of building fluency.
So how does CLM use shaping to help students become more fluent?
The program gives students lots of practice with a particular skill and provides immediate feedback on how they're doing. And as they get better, the program gradually increases the complexity or speed, shaping their ability to perform the skill more efficiently over time.
So it's like they're being guided through these increasingly challenging levels, building their skills step by step.
Exactly, and the research shows that this approach really works. Students who use CLM programs show big improvements in their fluency across a variety of skills.
That's really impressive. It seems like CAI has a lot of potential, especially when you combine it with shaping. But are there any downsides or challenges to using it in classrooms?
Well, one challenge is making sure these programs are designed well and used appropriately. If a program is too simplistic or repetitive, students might get bored. And if it's not implemented in a way that truly supports learning, it won't be as effective.
So it's not just a matter of throwing technology at the problem. You have to use it strategically and thoughtfully.
Absolutely. And another challenge is ensuring that these programs are accessible to all students. Not all schools have the same resources, and it's crucial to make sure everyone has equal opportunities to benefit from this technology.
That's a really important point. Technology can be a powerful tool, but we need to use it in a way that promotes equity and access for all learners.
I completely agree, and it's important to remember that shaping doesn't always have to involve technology. There are plenty of simple and effective ways to use shaping in everyday life.
Oh, that's a great reminder. We've been talking about some pretty formal applications of shaping, but how can our listeners use these principles in their personal lives?
Well, we actually use shaping all the time without even realizing it. Think about teaching a child to tie their shoes or ride a bike. You probably break it down into steps and encourage them as they go. That's shaping in action.
So even something as simple as teaching a child to make their bed can be an example of shaping.
Absolutely. You might start by praising them for pulling the sheets up, then for tucking in the corners. It's all about breaking down a task into smaller steps and reinforcing their progress.
I'm starting to see shaping everywhere now. It's incredible how such a simple concept can be so powerful and versatile.
It truly is. And the best part is you don't need to be a behavioral expert to use it effectively. With a basic understanding of the principles, you can apply shaping to all sorts of situations.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for shaping and its potential. It really is amazing to see how widely applicable these principles are. We've covered so much ground from the basics of shaping to, these really advanced applications in different fields.
It's been quite a journey, and I think it underscores how shaping isn't just a technique. It's like a way of thinking about how we approach learning and behavior change in general.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that change happens gradually through those small steps and reinforcement adjustments along the way.
Precisely. And that process can be applied in so many different ways, from, achieving personal goals to professional development to working with our clients.
It seems like regardless of what we're trying to accomplish, like learning a new skill, improving a behavior, teaching someone something new, those shaping principles can be incredibly useful.
Absolutely. And that brings us to kind of a thought-provoking question I'd like to leave our listeners with today. We've spent a lot of time discussing how shaping can change other people's behavior, but what about our own?
Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah.
How can we use shaping to achieve our own goals and become better versions of ourselves? It's so easy to get caught up in using these techniques with others and forget to turn that lens inward.
Exactly. So I encourage everyone listening to think about, a goal they've been wanting to achieve. Maybe it's learning a new language or getting in better shape or mastering a new skill at work.
Right.
How could you break that goal down into smaller, more manageable steps?
What kind of reinforcers would keep you motivated?
How will you celebrate your progress as you move closer to that goal?
Yeah.
Remember, shaping isn't just a tool for working with others. It's a powerful strategy for personal growth and self-improvement as well.
I love that takeaway. So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into the incredible world of shaping. We've explored its power, its versatility, and even how we can apply it to our own lives.
We hope you've enjoyed the journey as much as we have.
And remember, change is possible one step at a time with a little bit of shaping. We can all achieve amazing things. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
And don't forget to share your own experiences with shaping on our social media channels. We'd love to hear from you.